You flip one of those around.
Good morning, the right side of the news.
Good morning, Nick. How are you doing on this fine day?
Nick, I am, and it's happening this fine day. I'm happy to be here. Good morning, John.
Yeah, you sent me an interesting article. I don't know if it was this morning, but I read it this morning on Darwinism. And I think with the crazy state of everything in the world, I think that, the thought of dust coming together or chemical reaction and creating all life, and there's no intelligence, design and stuff like that is kind of just a dark place to be with how crazy the world is. So I thought that was an interesting read this morning and an interesting subject.
Well, the thing about science I have noticed is a lot of it's guessing. And it's just in the last 10 years or so they've gotten angry when you question them. Science is made to be questioned. Science is made to be proved wrong. Your thoughts are better, and I can prove it.
Yeah, science is questioning science.
So there was a new word in an article I read this morning called abiogenesis. And I'm going to read you what it is. And personally, I think this is comical. Abiogenesis is the idea that life originated from a non-living material, non-life. This concept has explained a great deal of mankind's understanding of science has grown, but all forms of abiogenesis have one thing in common. They are all scientifically unsupportable. Abiogenesis, the idea is that life arose from a non-life form more than 3.5 billion years ago on Earth. It proposes that the first life forms generated were very simple, and through a granular process, became increasingly complex. Biogenesis is in which life is derived from reproduction of other life, which presumably precedes abiogenesis, which became impossible since the Earth's atmosphere assumed its present composition. The thing is life started from non-life chemical reactions. And everything we have today is a result of that. And that big word, what is it? Darwin says?
Darwinism? What do you...
Yeah. Oh, well, I get lost sometimes. Evolution.
Oh, evolution.
Yes, it's all because of evolution, not creation.
Yeah. We're all just a bunch of monkeys, right? But what happened between the monkey and the modern human? You know, like where's the in between? Just one day, monkeys had a baby, and then it was just looked like a human.
Well, one day a bunch of chemicals came together and started an amoeba, and the amoeba lived in the water and it crawled out, and now we've got butterflies and moths and lizards and life forms that live 10,000 feet under the ocean, and moles and voles that live under the earth, and monkeys and apes, and I don't believe that a bit. Well, it's all got to be created.
I was raised an atheist, or just in a godless family, and my siblings and my parents and everybody doesn't believe in a creator. They believe in the Darwinism and all that fake science. But one day I would look at everything and I go, it's the intelligent design. Whether you believe in Jesus or you believe in whatever you believe in. I don't see how you cannot see an intelligent design. I mean, literally, if we breathe in CO2 and breathe out oxygen, while trees do the exact opposite. They breathe in CO2 and put out oxygen that we breathe. And I mean, like a carrot, you can cut a carrot open, and if you slice a carrot real thin, and this is actually one of the things that like really made me trip out when I was really young, while I was slicing carrots open, and you're always told, well, carrots have nutrients that give you better eyesight or keep your eyesight strong. Well, if you slice a carrot real thin and you hold it up to light, it looks identical to an eyeball.
I'll be darned. Isn't that something?
And you could just hold it up to the window and look at it. It looks identical to an eyeball. And it's like, wow, is that coincidence that a kidney bean just happens to be the nutrient for your kidneys? And so
Beets are good for your heart, and look at them; they're blood red.
Yeah, it's a trip how all this stuff, and so I'm gonna send a clip. So the other day, I have some passion flowers. We have these passion flowers that the plant grows right out of the concrete at my business.
I know a couple girls that could use some passion flowers.
Oh, it's taking the whole building over. But the big giant cedar bees is what I call them. The big giant solid black ones, not the bumbles.
Oh, yes.
But a lot of those are around all the time, and they actually go around and they're attracted to the nectar. And the way that they are attracted to the nectar, and then I forget the little things that come out that have the pollen on them, just they go in a big circle around the flower, and I'll pull that video up to share. But and it just happens to be perfect that where they go to get the nectar, and they do a full 360 around the flower and collect all the pollen off of it, and it's just like that can't be a coincidence.
They've got a system.
Yeah.
Collecting pollen. You know, I've got a barrel cactus at home, and it gets the most wonderful blooms on it. The flower of a barrel cactus looks to be about 5 or 6 inches long, and it's real narrow neck until the end, and it's got a really funny looking stymus. And I watched one of those big black things go all the way to the bottom to where he disappeared in it, and he come out just covered with pollen. It was amazing. Listen, I've come up with an idea. Let's see. Leslie's got this idea. We're going to start a little deal that what happened 1 year ago. Are you ready with that, Leslie? Maybe not quite. Oh, here we go. 1 year ago. Throwback. Click.
I mean, there's some theories out there that he's dead and like they actually it's a robot. And I mean, I don't know how much I believe that, but he kind of looked like a robot glitching out.
I think he's overloaded with serotonin because of all the executive orders he's signed and all the people he's helping, and he's alleviated any chance of war in the world. I mean, he's proud of himself.
Wow.
I mean, he signed so many executive orders, he had to use an auto pen to sign the rest of them.
That's funny.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you what, he's an idiot. I came up with an idea, John, and we're going to roll this around as it goes on. I think you and I should host a debate.
Yeah.
When it comes election time, I would specifically like to pick on the supervisors that are coming up for election and get a real debate going. So we need a forum, and I think we could probably hitchhike on another 401c to find one. So if there's anybody out there that could help us find a forum for a debate, I think John and I would really like to have one, a real debate, not a little talk. I'd like to see some of those guys get in each other's face. We might have to have security there.
Yeah, I mean, why not just have boxing matches and whoever wins the boxing match gets the position? No, I'm just joking.
Well, they have these darn forums for them, and they ask a question, and you've got 2 minutes to answer, and your time's up, and you've got 2 minutes. To me, a debate is an argument.
Yeah.
And let's ask a question, and let's see you guys argue it out.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I think that'd be great. I think we could really get down to some explanations about what's going on in our community.
Yeah, we've got elections coming up in less than a year now.
Yes. What is it? I don't know.
It's good. It's about a year, I believe.
Yes.
Somewhere around there, but that's right around the corner.
It is. It's going to be sooner rather than later. So anyway, where do we go from there? Okay, I stumbled across this a couple days ago. The California Energy Commission on Wednesday approved the Darden Clean Energy Project, the first to be permitted under the state's opt-in certification program. This is happening in Fresno County, and this is a takeoff of what happened here in Shasta County. You know, our supervisors turned down the windmills twice in a row, so the state of California started the California Energy Commission to supersede us, go over our heads, and shove that down our throats. And we're still having an argument about it. It isn't settled. Chair Cry is going to represent us in Sacramento. I have an idea that we might prevail. But what caught my eye here is, listen to this. The California Energy Commission on Wednesday approved the Darden Clean Energy Project, the first to be permitted under the state's opt-in certification program. So I got to thinking, I wonder if Fresno County had discussed this and turned it down, and they're shoving it down their throat, being successful as state. So I called up the county down in Fresno, and I never did get to a supervisor, but I talked to 4 different people, and they didn't have a clue what I'm talking about. And I would think this is a big deal. This thing is just huge. Where is the good? Okay, well, here's my fact sheet. It's going to have the biggest battery storage facility in the world down there. It's going to have, I should have highlighted this, integrates 1.50 megawatts of battery energy storage, which can power approximately 850,000 homes for 4 hours. I'm thinking, whoop-de-doo.
Okay. So, why in the world? Okay, why wouldn't they just produce electricity and just put it right into the grid?
Well, I don't know. They didn't ask you.
Did they put any costs on there? Because
No. But they did put the size on it. It's going to have something like 3 million solar panels, and then the battery storage place, and it's going to cover a ton of acres. 9,500 acres.
9,500.
9,500 acres is what it's going to cover. Wouldn't you think that Fresno County would have something to say about that?
So this is like billions of dollars, I'm assuming. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
And, I called down there, and nobody knew a thing about it.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is, now that they've decided they have the final say on whether something's going to go in,
Yeah. They're
can
setting
they
a
just
precedent.
decide it's going to go in without even notifying the counties? Can they say that they're going to put windmills up here at Whiskeytown, and all of a sudden they show up with caterpillars and start cutting pads, and it's new to us, we don't know anything about it? I'm wondering if that's what's going on here. I sent this article to Chair Cry thinking that he would probably investigate and see if he knows what's going on or what he could find out.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the first time hearing of it right now.
Well, I just found out about it 2 or 3 days ago, and I just thought, I wonder if what went on to get this going. So about 3 o'clock, I started calling Fresno County, the supervisors down there, and I had a heck of a time finding anybody. One guy from planning is supposed to call me back, but it just seems to me that everybody would know about this.
Yeah, I wonder, is it state land? Is it city land? Is it county land? Is it private land?
Well, I don't think that even matters whose land it is.
Well,
3.1 million solar panels.
Well, whoever lands the contract to do the construction and the somebody's making some. This green energy is a cash freaking cow for a lot of people. And there's been so many scams with green energy that have proven to be failed over. And what's the definition of crazy?
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But, my way of thinking is President Trump said kaput with the green energy. He's not going to let any more come through. In fact, he said about the windmills that no more permits to kill eagles. I didn't know it, but Fish and Wildlife Service gave permits to windmill projects to kill eagles. Isn't that something? But and we talked about that earlier. But it looks to me like they're just grabbing what they can because the party's over.
Yeah. Shoot, I don't know. The future's so uncertain. It's really hard to say what's going to happen. But what we see over and over again is if a project gets turned down, they repackage it, call it something else. Or
change the name.
try again, and then if that doesn't work, then use a different tactic. And I mean, it seems like there's the powers that be definitely want to get what they want done, regardless of what us peasants think.
Or they want their sponsors to make as much money as they can because they might get a little bit of a kickback.
Well, yeah, I'd be curious to see how much that specific project in Fresno would be. But yeah, there's some buco freaking bucks, and guaranteed there's some backdoor deals to where they're gonna, I mean, it probably has to be bid on, but somebody's gonna know to magically bid it for $50,000 less on, I don't know how much that would cost, but that's a huge, I would imagine more than $1 billion.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they wanted to put something a quarter that size in Shasta County, I would be against it simply because of the fire they had in Moss Landing. That was a big, huge battery storage facility down there that caught fire. They had a heck of a time getting it out, and then it flared up again, and it sent all kinds of heavy metals and pollutants all over the community. And that's down there where they grow a lot of organic vegetables.
Yeah.
And they're claiming that there's no threat to health because of that. But do you trust everything your government tells you anymore?
There was a big giant, I don't know if it was called the giant fire, but there was a lot of black smoke coming out there. I call it short still. I believe it's North State Recycling Center now, or something.
Yes.
You know what I still call it.
Used to be shorts. I call it shorts too.
Okay. They're all their batteries caught on fire one day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I was at work, and I mean, it was just coming up. I called Terry Raposa because he lives just up the road from there, and I said, "Hey, do you see the fire?" And he's like, "What fire?" And I didn't know what it was at the time. I just saw it was getting out of control, and it was a lot of black smoke, looked like structure fires, and yeah, so I guess it was all their recycled batteries and stuff caught on fire somehow, and it made a lot of toxic smoke coming up. But that's,
and yet the county or the fire department will come along and give you a citation for burning a little green vegetation.
Yeah, right. I've had the fire department at my house a couple times because I wasn't really doing it exactly how I should necessarily, and someone called but they basically gave me a high five, and they're like, "Hey, just put it out, but good freaking job," because they're like, "You're doing a great job because I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get ahead of this, Well, there's certain times you're not supposed to burn, and I don't live in the city now, but like when it rains, I think it's November, you're not supposed to burn, or there's a month that you're not supposed to burn at all. But then what I do is I always burn when it's like the safest to burn versus if it's just to get ahead of it, because if you miss burning stuff when it's safe to burn it, then you end up into a time where it might not rain for 6 months and it's not safe to burn, and then all that fuel's just sitting around.
I usually burn, I have a big burn pile every year, and I wait till the second good rain.
Yep.
And I'm out there while it's raining.
Yep.
And
same here.
They had a fire over at my house not too long ago, not too far from me, probably a couple 100 yards, a warming fire from our brothers and sisters that aren't housed. Let it get away from them. It wasn't a major one. But what was it? There was a gal that had to be rescued. Was it up Battle Creek? Anyway, this gal had to be rescued. She and her boyfriend, I assume, were going down the creek in kayaks, and she got off to the side and couldn't get back on, or some darn thing, and she started a fire for a signal fire. This is just in the last few days.
Wow.
The fire department put it out. It was only about 10 acres. I'm thinking, what kind of an idiot would do that? And she was okay and everything.
Oh my gosh. Was she out there for like a week and then realized that, I'm going to die
probably
out
a
here?
couple hours.
I know,
think she broke a fingernail, though. It was an emergency. Hey, you were talking about different names for things, and I just happen to have this sitting right here. Looting has become unpermitted redistribution. Riots have become.
No, are you messing with me right now, or are you being serious? Or are you being sarcastic? I gotta ask, because in this crazy world, are you? Okay, are you?
This is an article I read.
Okay,
and I might read it sometime, but it's how things are renamed. Censorship becomes content moderation. Indoctrination becomes social emotional learning. Castration, gender affirming care.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh. Some people probably should be castrated, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially pedophiles. If you can't put them to sleep, give them a dirt nap.
What is it,
then
90% of them that get out? Or is it, I forget the percentage. It's like 80 something, or it's most of them that get out get caught again, creating.
Doing it again.
Doing it again.
You know, I've got a friend, Gail. She graduated from high school with me, and she has a really bright daughter, Angie. And Angie lives on the East Coast someplace, I don't know, Pennsylvania or something, kind of out in the country. And she was out here, and she says, I can't believe all the crimes you guys have. And Gail says, don't you have those? No, we have vigilantes. We take care of those people. Like when somebody's sleeping with his daughter, well, he's not doing that anymore because he doesn't exist, is the way I interpret it.
Yeah.
And when they have those problems, they don't plug the courts up. They go take care of them. That's the way our country used to be until we got a lot of lefties in making laws and that kind of stuff. Some people just need to be put to sleep. They're evil.
Yeah. Too many soy boys out there.
Yes.
With limp handshakes. And they don't look you in the eyes.
Well, some of them might be on the spectrum, too.
Yeah, and man, well, think about it. When you're raised and if you're not breastfeeding and you're getting shot up with a bunch of who knows what, and then you get, you're getting, what do you call that? The formula, the formula that's full of soy with massive amounts of estrogen in it. So there's a lot of estrogen mimickers in food. I didn't know if a lot of people know that, but there's a lot of estrogen mimickers in food. And there was a study a long time ago with a bunch of young boys, I believe, and I'm going off memory here, but I believe it was 5 to 7 year olds. They did about 6 months of nothing but soy, and they ate no meat. And what happened was they had way more estrogen than a teenage girl on birth control in these young boys. So some of these kids, I mean, it might not be like they actually made a choice. So you combine the estrogen mimickers in the food, and then you combine the social engineering in the school programs and the TV and the news and the everything, right?
And the fact that their dads can't take them to work and teach them how to work. There's a lot of dads that can't take their kids to work. There's a lot of dads that don't know how to work themselves.
Yeah. I wanted to play that clip with Patrick talking about the DA corruption a little bit. I thought this was pretty awesome. We'll let him talk, and then we'll...
Well, getting back to the formula instead of mothers,
yeah.
Well, that's what happened when I was a kid. I was born in 1950, and I know that they had decided then that a formula was better than mother's milk.
Really?
Yes. And I don't know when it reverted back when they changed that, but I know that I had formula, and I'm trying to make up for it to this day. I like to breastfeed any chance I get.
Are you serious though? You didn't get any?
Yes.
They
that was famous. And
wow. And this was what year were you born?
1950. So
I can't believe people were that dumb in 1950.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just not trying to be mean to your parents, but that's propaganda all the way back then.
Yes.
I mean, God's made it perfect.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it was how are you going to
taking out tonsils? Have you had your tonsils removed?
No, but I had my wisdom teeth removed, and I found out about a dozen years ago that your wisdom teeth are actually organs, and you should never take out your wisdom teeth.
Really?
I didn't, and I did have my wisdom teeth. I never had my tonsils taken out, but
I know the tonsils were a big deal, and almost everybody had them taken out. I didn't, and I think probably mostly because we couldn't afford it. But
well, a little gargle with DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide, and peroxide will kill almost any infection.
oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. But I think that most of your healthcare people around that are into organic healthcare and not gone to medical school, they encourage you to keep your tonsils. They're there for a reason.
Yeah.
God put them there for a reason.
I would think so.
Yes.
I mean, that blows me away. Pretty soon they're probably going to grind a bunch of bugs up. And I'm not even, this might sound crazy. I've said some stuff like this before, and 10, 15 years later, it comes true. I joked around about 15 years ago that in the future, they were going to have lifelike robots, and then people were going to start dating robots, and they were going to have robot brothels.
Oh, no.
This is 15. They have them now.
Is that right?
Yes. They have robot brothels. And I mean, like, I was saying it like jokingly, but kind of serious. And it was about 10 years later, it became true. But I'm not even joking. They're probably going to come up with a way to try to sell some kind of insect formula as better than milk, better than breast milk, and give this to your kid. And there's a lot of toxic things in bugs. We were not meant to. I mean, a little bug here and there that you pull out of the lettuce in the garden.
Build your immune system when you're a kid.
Yeah, but there's toxic things in the exoskeletons of bugs, and it's just we're not meant to eat bugs.
Yeah, but you know, the Native Americans used to every year burn a little piece. This is over in Hoopaw.
Yeah.
The guy I used to cut timber
Yeah.
with, Big John, told me that he went to one and observed, and they would burn this little piece and eat the grasshoppers.
Yeah. What do you mean they would burn this little piece?
Well, say an acre of star thistle or something like that, and the grasshoppers are in there thick.
Oh, yeah.
It was a regular ceremony, the way I understood it.
Gotcha.
They did it every year.
Okay, and they were like toasted
Grasshoppers.
basically.
Yeah, that's pretty much the impression I
mean,
got.
I don't know. It's probably not going to kill you if you do it once a year. I mean, I think if it was a staple and an everyday part of your diet, the human body can resist a lot of toxic things.
Oh,
I
sure.
mean, it's very, it's amazing what our bodies can withstand, but for how long, and things do build up. And I mean, I know for sure if you eat insects every single day and that was your main source of protein, you are not going to be very healthy.
You start rubbing your arms together and sounding like a cricket. You think you're maybe ODing on them. You know, speaking of grasshoppers, somebody told me a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, that there was a heck of a herd of grasshoppers down around Modesto, down in there, and they were working their way north. And I'm seeing more grasshoppers than I've ever seen before in my field out back. You know,
Yeah.
I walk through there and I see them hopping around, and
Yep.
it's unusually more. And I think it's probably going to get worse.
Yeah, different insects, different years have different, like sometimes the aphids are really crazy.
Oh, sure.
Sometimes-
Spiders are having a really good this year. Have you noticed the spider webs?
Yeah, we've had this happen twice in our house, but about a week ago, I woke up in the morning and there was about maybe a couple thousand spiders at least that hatched, and there's webs all over everything, and they were like these little teeny babies, and they worked all night, and just, I mean, in my kitchen, it was like from the cupboards down to the sink to all over the house plants, and it was kind of crazy. I cleaned it all up for the most part before.
Kind of looked like the Addams Family.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I've been seeing some grasshoppers this year, but nothing more than normal at my place.
I used to go get mandarins at a mandarin orchard out in Olinda, and this old geezer had planted it, and he died about 3 years after I discovered it. But I'd sit and chat with him. And he told me with fruit trees around the North State here, he said, You'll have one year that's a bumper year, and you'll have a year that's a complete failure, and the rest of them will be kind of in between. And I'm noticing that with insects and everything else. They have good years, bad years, this kind of years.
Yeah, and the weather, the droughted, more wet brings out certain insects more drought years. So wetter years bring out certain insects, drier years bring out certain insects, and I think and some of the eggs can stay dormant for
years and years and years.
Yeah, I had this giant. It was some kind of borer beetle. It's about it was about 3 inches long, maybe 2.5, 3 inches, huge beetle. Somehow it was crawling on my stomach. And I lifted my shirt up, felt something on me, and this thing was gigantic, knocked it off. I was like, what the heck was that? And this giant beetle, it was just really weird. Never seen one before. And it was crawling on me. And it has this thing that comes out of its like rear end. And it's like, it looks like a little snail head alien that comes out like over an inch long and like feels around. It's like an alien coming out of its rear end. It's so weird. I've got a video of it. It was like very, very interesting.
Spooky.
It was spooky. Well, just the other day, and this was at work, the other day, one of my employees had one crawling up his leg too.
Same thing.
And I was like, and he was kind of freaked out because he doesn't really like bugs, but I've never seen one of them. And then we had, literally crawling on us.
Oh boy. Well, I guess we're ready for Patrick Jones, and he's going to explain his lawsuit to us. Are you ready, Leslie?
Discussion.
Okay, so we have three speakers, so 3 minutes. First up, Patrick Jones, followed by Jenny, followed by Benjamin Nguyen.
Thank you, Board, and good afternoon. I regret this item being on for R8, but I've exhausted all remedies. From January to June 2022, Shasta County District Attorney Stephanie Bridget and her subordinates used the office and her equipment to run her campaign. A whistleblower came forward and stated that 80 to 90% of her time was campaigning on county premise and county equipment. There was 350 emails, which this board and myself have still not seen to this date. Shortly thereafter, I became whistleblower number 2. Under the California Whistleblower Protection Act, this law, along with other relevant statutes, mandates that the employer take whistleblower complaints seriously and investigate them thoroughly, fairly, impartial, and promptly. This did not happen, and that's unfortunate, and that is why I'm here today. We have an action that has not been investigated thoroughly and properly. If that had happened, this item wouldn't be R8. It wouldn't be here. An investigation should have taken place. It did not. As a whistleblower, I came forward with credible evidence. We saw it. A lot of us saw it. The first whistleblower complaint established that Stephanie Bridget admitted to using her office and her equipment for campaigning. She admitted that. My ask for you is, and Chair Cry, I do appreciate you bringing this out in open session, and I believe it should be in open session. My ask for you is that the exceptions for California Code 995 with immunity, there's not absolute immunity with regards to the district attorney. If she is performing her job within the scope of those duties, she has absolute immunity. This was not that case. Shasta County should not spend revenue on her to defend her if this goes to court, which it may, depending on the actions of this board. She was operating outside her scope, and you have no requirement to spend money to defend her. She has to defend herself. She has already admitted to fraud. So I regret having this at this point. This was not my intent. This is not about me. This is about holding Shasta County District Attorney Stephanie Bridget accountable. Thank you.
There you have it.
22, possibly going all the way back to 2021. I'm not sure when she started campaigning, but I hope that there's some accountability. It just seems like some people are above the law, and it's kind of like where do you go for justice? You know what I mean? And I hope we see something out of this, because she admitted it, and if one of us was in an elected position and we were directing staff members to campaign for us, okay, if you want to do it on your own time, outside of work, okay, on your days off, but when you have people making social media posts and doing all these emails and doing all these things for campaigning for you while that's wasting taxpayer money, and it goes way beyond that, because it's not just wasting taxpayer money. I believe there was around at least 800 cases, from what I understand, that got put on the back burner. So when you have thousands of, I looked at doing a defamation suit against where I was being character assassinated, basically. And I talked to a good lawyer friend of mine, and he says, look, I think he said there's 2,000 cases in front of you. And he goes, in California, it's really crazy to be able to prove defamation in California. And if you end up losing, he goes, it's going to take probably about 2 years before your case gets heard. And then he says, and then if you lose, you're going to end up having to pay not just my side, but you're going to have to pay their side also. And I go, so pretty much you're telling me that don't do it. He goes, pretty much. And I said, okay, I don't want to. But he told me it was going to be 2 or 2.5 years before the process even began, because there was thousands of cases on basically just stacked up. So,
sure.
I mean, when I'm behind on work, I have to work more. I have to work longer days. I got to get up earlier. I have to stay later, and I have to work on my days off to get caught up. And then once I get caught up and things are slow, maybe I'll take a freaking extra day off. But you can't put things off like that when you're already that far behind.
Well, yeah, and it's 2.5 years before the process starts, and the process doesn't get over in a week. It can run a couple of years also.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a. I don't know what all the charges should be because I'm not a lawyer, but I definitely know it's illegal, and I mean it should definitely be a fireable offense. And I think we're stuck with her until, is it 2028, I believe, because they changed the sheriff in 2022. I forget what government code or Senate bill it was, but it changed. They wanted the elections to coincide with
the presidential election, I believe,
election.
Yes. So they got 2 years. She and the sheriff got an extra 2 years.
Yes, an extra 2 years. And then it's going to go back to 4 years.
Yes.
So but for now, I believe it's, she'll be in from 2022 all the way to 2028, which.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
6 years.
Yeah. And
I don't know much about this, but I have gained a lot of respect for Patrick Jones. He is very well researched, he's very well educated, and he defended himself against, I think, represented himself when it comes to the gun club out there and other accusations. And from what I was told, he did better than a lawyer would have ever done for him. And
yeah,
he's just really a sharp person. How this goes with the DA, I don't know. If what he's saying is true, she should be reprimanded. I don't believe. Well, the board voted 4-1 to cover her defense, and boy, I wouldn't want to be responsible for that bill, because I think the county can really run up a bill if they want to.
Who was the one nay?
Kevin Cry.
Kevin was the only nay.
Kevin, in my opinion, I haven't talked to Kevin. In fact, I didn't even see any of it. I left before that started. But it's my understanding that Kevin felt that she should have to defend herself because it wasn't in the pur of her employment or her job to do what she did. It was, they claim that she broke the law, and that's on her. But evidently the other 4 supervisors didn't think so.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, but Kevin Cry is definitely being very stand-up in a lot of different ways.
Oh, gosh, he has brought so much transparency. I hear on the radio Carl Bott and a few others giving Matt Plummer all these pats on the back because of his weekly deal on Facebook, his his emails coming out explaining the supervisors' meetings and everything. Kevin Cry was doing that 2 years before he showed up with his coffees, with his Facebook. You need to give him the credit for getting this started.
Yeah. I don't know any other supervisors who's made himself as available as he has and just taking things head on.
I don't know any other county employees that have done that. There's a few. That Brian Muir, he was really good. Nolda Short's great. I've called her a couple of times, and she's happy to talk to me and explain to me, you know, what's going on. So we've got a few, but he is the most transparent supervisor we've ever have. To be able to sit there on a Friday morning and have coffees. By the way, his coffee is suspended until this next fall, his Friday morning coffees. But, geez, anybody could walk in there, and I've gone to 4 or 5 of them. I guess there's been a couple of people like Benjamin Noane and his wife that have showed up and caused a little trouble once in a while. Not so much Jenny. By the way, Jenny, at the last meeting, said that she is being charged with something for her stunt sitting down and disrupting the supervisors' meetings.
The one where she got dragged out or whatever?
One of them, she got dragged out on 2 different meetings, and she wasn't even sure which one she was being charged with. But evidently, they are going to prosecute her about one of those, whatever the charges may be. I could think of somebody I'd rather have an example set for. You know, the left in there, they just take off. But I kind of wanted to talk about our hospital. Not our hospital, our medical college that Dr. Danuka proposed, and the county hired Chris Street. It's a short contract. I think it was 3 or 4 months at $40,000 to investigate the feasibility and look for grants, how we could finance it and everything. And the medical community has just come out against it in gangbusters, and it's just amazing to me. Randall Hempling, who used to be the CEO of Dignity Health, I'm pretty sure, he was on Free Fire Radio Wednesday the 11th. And I would encourage you to go listen to that. He was on the first hour, and it starts about 3.5 minutes in. But he is just absolutely against Chris Street and Shasta County having a medical college. He belongs to an outfit called SHARC. Shasta Health Assessment Redesign Collaborative. And
How long has that been around?
Since 2009.
Okay.
And it is all the healthcare providers in Shasta County coming together, I assume the bigwigs, and they are recruiting doctors. Their job is to recruit doctors and healthcare professionals that we need. And you know, we've got quite a shortage of doctors, so it hasn't been all that successful. Maybe they've brought in some, and maybe they haven't. Maybe it's just stayed even. They've managed to replace the ones that are retiring. But we have a health care crisis, and that's what Dr. Moo claimed at the supervisors meeting. He declared a health care crisis in Shasta County because there's not enough primary care doctors or other doctors. And these guys just attack them. And it looks to me like they got their panties in a bunch because somebody else is stepping up the plate and wants to attract more doctors to our area.
Sounds a little bit sharky to me.
That's exactly what it is. You know, and Randall said they created this in 2009 because of our clogged emergency rooms. Well, Randy, they're still clogged. They're mostly junkies in there drying out, and we're making them comfortable. And if they need some medical assistance, in my opinion, I know the one time I've been there the last 10 years, that's what was going on there. But there's a lawsuit against the county for hiring Chris Street to recruit physicians. And it's kind of frivolous. The county can hire consultants anytime they want. What's the problem? It's a $40,000 contract out of what? Almost $750,000 $1 billion budget? It's just they don't like Chris Street, and if his name's brought up, they get angry. No one's doing anything. This maybe we should. Hempling, he's not aware of our successes. No one has to ask Shark. Nobody, Chris Street, Kevin Cry, none of them have asked Hempley what they are doing or for their statistics or how they could help. They're doing their own thing here, and that's what's got him so angry, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there's a lot of nursing programs here, and there's a lot of people that have to move because there's nowhere to go to, really. There's no they have to. A lot of people would probably prefer to stay here in Shasta County, and there's not enough health care. I mean, I talk to people all the time, and they're like, I got to go to UC Davis for this. I got to go to the Bay Area. I got to go. They're traveling all over the place to go get health care because they cannot get it here.
You're talking to one. I drive to Ashland because we've got a new rheumatologist in town, but we didn't have one for a year there. And before that, we had two, but they were backed up so far, you had to wait 6 months to get an appointment.
Wow.
My health care, or my rheumatologist in Ashland, she wanted to transfer me down to the new guy here, and she sent my charts down, and I called him up a month and a half ago and told him, yes, I'm Nick Gardner, and you've got my charts. I just wanted you to know I'm waiting. Well, I haven't heard a word from him. A month and a half.
Crickets.
Yeah, well, it's probably not their fault. They're probably just flooded.
Yeah.
In fact, when the final one retired in Reading, there were so many going to Chico. I read where Chico was not accepting any more rheumatologists, rheumatoid arthritis patients from Reading.
Wow.
Laura Hobbs had a medical problem. She had to drive to Davis.
Yep.
And just like you said, there's no shortage of them. Dr. Nuka is being used by this guy. This is Hempling. I'm paraphrasing. Dr. Nuka is being used by these guys to keep Street employed in this county. Hey, I don't think Street needs to be employed. He's here helping our county because he loves our county.
He had to get like $1 million-something insurance on his own. And yeah, I mean, he probably could be doing something in the private sector to make a lot more money for a lot less work.
Absolutely. They claim Dr. D is wrong. Doctors don't return to practice medicine where they went to medical school. Well, that might be so. But if we had a medical college here in Reading and a residency program that would service a lot more than what we have, I think there's only 9 residencies in Reading, Community Health, Dignity Health, and Mercy. If we could create more of those, you would have students that come here for 4-6 years of college, and then their 3 or 4 years of residency. By that time, Reading's home to a lot of them.
Yeah.
I like it here. I want to stay here. So Street didn't consult with Shark, and they got their panties in a bunch. And they're just like the left at the supervisors' meetings. They're doing anything they can to go against the grain to make it hard. He claimed, and he's probably right, he called the county clerk numerous times in the last year to give a presentation to the supervisors about what they have been doing, Shark, to attract physicians to our area, with no reply. Well, this is a very well-educated person. If I wanted something on the to make a presentation, I would call my supervisor. I would call the chair of the board. I would call the CEO. I wouldn't call the clerk. Would you? I mean, if I didn't, I've learned if you don't get the satisfaction on your call the next guy up and keep going till you get some satisfaction. Somebody that can give you a decent answer. But if we were to get a college here, even if a doctor didn't stay here, can you imagine the construction jobs that would be created, the maintenance and service jobs that would be created, the services that would come here because we have a hospital, the people that make instruments and all other things as far as medical doctors, what they use, they would come here to sell their products. They would, it would be an economic multiplier, in my opinion. And I don't know what else anybody else has in mind. I think it would be great.
Absolutely.
Now, I was at my dentist yesterday for a teeth cleaning. Boy, they've gone up in cost. But he told me, I asked him, I says, what do you think about this medical college? He says, I think it's a wonderful idea. He says, we need one for dental too. And I said, are you taking on new patients? And he says, no, not unless it's a special situation. He says, there's a shortage of dentists in Reading. I didn't know that. There's a shortage of veterinarians in Reading. There's a shortage of everything. And he said a lot of it. He says, what people don't realize is the insurance is the main contributor to people not going into the healthcare industries anymore because they're dictating the cost or the payment. He says, I can charge $1,000 for a filling, but the insurance is only going to pay me $100. And he says, that the insurance has a lot more say-so about your health care than what you know. One of Hemp's final solutions is AI and telemedicine. But, that's not something that hasn't been around for a while. AI hasn't, but telemedicine has. And I've talked to people, and they don't feel good about telemedicine.
Have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
No, I don't think so.
It's a really funny freaking movie. Anyways,
I see it all the time with these idiots running around Reading.
Well, basically, this guy, this guy gets he's like frozen in some kind of project, right? Well, he gets frozen for like way longer than he was supposed to, maybe hundreds of years or something, 100 years or whatever. And what happened was all the dumb people bred and all the smart people decided not to have babies, and the world got overran by very unintelligent people. Not Owen Wilson, but one of the Wills. What's the other? It doesn't matter. One of the actor guys. So, but in that movie, basically, you go to the doctor and it's just a robot where they
Sure.
They tell you, here's your symptom, boom, this is your prescription or whatever. It's just kind of.
I'm kind of shaky about doctors anymore. I remember there was a guy out in Central Valley, Shasta Lake City, Randy, I forget his last name, was a doctor. And you would go out and I'd say, well, I've got this going on here. He'd look at, that's so-and-so.
Here we go. We got she looks like she pulled up visiting the hospital. Let's see if this is worth watching. It's been a long time, 20 years since I've seen this, but.
And Dr. Milton was a wonderful doctor. The old-time doctors could look at a problem and tell you what it is, not have to go online and protect themselves from lawsuits and that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's another thing that's really hurt our health care. And the price of health care is liability insurance and sue-happy lawyers.
Yeah, there's a lot of money being made. I told my son if he wants to make some money, become a lawyer. He's pretty funny.
I told my son he ought to be a dentist if he wants to make money.
It's pretty smart is what I meant to say. I'm not sure if that's the... Here we go. There we go. There's visiting the hospital right there. Here we go. This is what it might look like.
Well, that looks like the society that Lyndon Johnson created with his Great Society. Dumbed down? That looks like the emergency room. Over at Dignity Health. Randall. I'm just kidding.
Your floor is now clean. Your floor is now clean. Your floor is now clean.
Hi, I was in an Army experiment, and I'm not feeling so well. I think it might have been the drugs they had me on. I've been hallucinating. My head is just killing me.
That's telemedicine
my
right
joints are
there.
all achy, and
That's
Is this a
DEI.
hospital?
See, he's
I don't even know where I am.
Please proceed to the diagnostic area on the right and have a healthy day.
Oh. Thanks.
Thank you.
so he just kind of woke up from being frozen for however long. Brondo. It's like Gatorade, basically.
Excuse me. I think this might be Gatorade or something. I was just looking for some regular water.
Water?
Yeah.
You mean like in the toilet? What for?
Just to drink.
Water, like in the toilet.
You got hepatitis. Oh, is someone not feeling well? Your illness is very important to us.
Next.
Welcome to the Health Master Inferno, powered by Cure Me
This
technology.
goes in your mouth. This one goes in your ear. And this one goes in your butt.
No, I got them mixed up. The one in your mouth goes in your rear end.
Hang on a second. This one.
That's what he did too.
This one goes in your mouth.
Anyways, there's they got the probes and then they tell you what's wrong with you.
I
or
got
whatever,
them
but
mixed up.
That movie's actually pretty freaking funny. I'm not into dumb comedy, but that one's actually pretty freaking funny.
So anyway, getting back to the medical college, I believe that's a wonderful idea of Dr. Danuka's. And Chris Street is just the guy to herd it into fruition, at least get it started. And he knows where the grants are. That's another thing. Next week, I'm going to talk to you about the quality of doctors and the spread of a good doctor to a bad doctor, because I've had some experience with bad doctors. But, I can't think of a better person to spearhead this, and I think it is very much worthwhile pursuing, getting us a medical college up here. I'd rather have that than a UC Davis or something like that. I would rather have that than some of these institutes of education that I see that indoctrinate kids. These are, a medical college is more like a trade school. These people want to be a doctor. They're coming here for a purpose. It's not like liberal arts. I couldn't decide what I want to be, so I'll be a teacher. They didn't do a very good job. In fact, I'm soliciting donations for a book. It's called Math for Idiots. Old Charlie Can't Count, our ex-superintendent of schools, he was in the failed recall. He come to my house, and he didn't know who I was. And he's in his old folksy voice. I said, "What do you want to recall Kevin Cry?" "Well, he's cost us millions of dollars." I says, "Oh, how's that?" "Well, they canceled the contract for the Dominion machines." I said, "Well, the Dominion machines only cost us $266,000 a year. How does that equate to millions?" "Well, there's other things." So he needs a book, Math for Dummies, and then Kristen Gardner could use it. What'd he say? $86,000 times 12 equals 3.5 million approximately. These guys need to learn how to count.
Yeah, same thing with the ex-ROV, Kathy.
Oh, my goodness.
Kathy can't count.
Yeah.
And I do care. Kathy can't count, and I do care.
Yeah, but she don't. She don't. Hey, we could get that book and we could just kind of loan it out to them, kind of a library deal. We might have to get a permit or something. I was watching something the other day about, the city of Reading has upped the price of their permits and their inspections and everything. I was at the meeting, and their excuse made sense. Of course, they've got to have an excuse. I didn't know you had to have an inspection, get a permit and have an inspection to replace the windows in your house. I thought you'd just go down to Home Depot and buy a window the right size and put it in there. But no, you've got to have inspections.
So
and
what was their excuse? They just need more money
well, they claim
to up the fees.
they claim that they're not covering their costs, that they needed to up them just to cover their cost. In fact, it's against the law for them to make money on it. But then my side of the argument is you guys don't know how to work.
Well, why does it take so freaking long? I'd say, okay, yeah, pay more if it's an expedited thing where it doesn't take so long.
I say don't pay at all unless it's commercial. Stay out of my house. I'll fix my house the way I want to, and I don't want any sprinklers. They make a bigger mess than a small fire.
Try opening a freaking restaurant.
Oh, gosh, I can't imagine. In fact, there was one place, I kind of thought it was Jersey Mike's because it was around that era. This big chain had their own team that came and constructed their restaurant in strip malls. They said they would never come back to Reading.
Yeah, after they dealt with it for, and they're all over the place. Yeah, it's.
There was a guy, in Discovery Village, he rented a spot, and he was going to put in a business called Heavenly Cheesesteak. Not cheesesteaks, cheesecake. And they were pretty good. I thought it was a dumb idea, and he didn't last long once he got it open. But he was well over a year trying to get that place opened up because of slowdowns caused by the city.
Well, you can go out of business before you even start.
Yes.
Because you can say, hey, this should take 3 months, but I'm going to budget it out for 6 months. You know what I mean? And it's, my dad was a building official, public works director, building inspector. Before that, he was had his own construction company. My dad was one of the greatest government workers ever, though. I mean, he went to work early. He stayed late. He would go and inspect people. Like I've told the story before, but I mean, we were going fishing one day and we went 20 minutes out of the way to go look at a job because they had dug the footing not exactly to spec, and they wanted to pour concrete on a Monday morning. So on Sunday, on the way to go fishing, we went and he looked at it and checked it off and said so they could pour concrete at 5 a.m. the next day. But that
doesn't happen anymore.
That doesn't happen.
There might be one or two out there, but that should be every public
What happens
employee.
when it takes a year or a year and a half and you got a loan to pay this place off and you're having to jump through all these hoops? And my dad had a place in Willow Creek. And so what my dad told me, because I've had to deal with some situations with the business and stuff like that, and I asked my dad about it, and he goes, this is kind of how it is, son. He goes, there could be 5 different ways to do something, and they can decide they want you to do it this way. Even if what you want to do is within...
Yes.
They could just say, well, why don't you just go ahead and do it this way? So my dad being when I was 12 years old is when he first started working for the government. Before that, he was his work for himself. And he became a building inspector, and I was 12 years old, so it would have been like 1980. Okay, I was born in 78. So he was, we're talking, this was in 2010 maybe, so he had been 30 years working for the government in his own house. Now, in Willow Creek, he wanted to do some upgrades and do a little building, this and that. And the guy was such a prick that came there, even though there was 5 or 6 or 7 different ways. My dad obviously knows exactly what the regulations are and how to do it. Well, the guy was just like, no, I don't want you to do it that way. I want you to do it this way. And he explained that to me, and I go, that's freaking absolutely insane. Because nobody knows that stuff better than my dad, and they would not let him do what he wanted to do just because they felt like being a power tripper or whatever. And I thought that was kind of crazy, because if there's 6 different ways you can do something, you should be able to, as long as it's within...
Choose the one you want.
Yeah, but he told me it's not like that.
Yeah, well, you get these people that never had any authority, and you give them a nickel's worth of authority, and they take a quarter's worth, and they are the boss, and you're going to do it my way. I think it's about time to thank our sponsors. I'd like to thank the guys down at... Northern Roots.
Come on.
No, my garden was not performing the way it had the first 10 or 15 years I lived there, and I went down and asked them if they had some kind of fertilizer or something that could help me out, and they gave me some fertilizer, and I wouldn't have known where to start. I went up and down the aisle, and they've got fertilizer, every kind that exists, I'm sure. But they gave me some chicken manure pellets and told me how to use it, and my garden is blooming now. So if you have any problems with your garden or needs or questions, Northern Roots would be the place to go. It's south of town. John knows the address.
4580 West Side Road. Anyways, yeah, Nutri-Rich is a great product. It's $13 for a 50-pound bag. It's
You don't sound too enthusiastic.
Well,
Do you not like Northern Roots?
I really want to thank Taylor Motors. If we're going to thank anybody, I want to thank Taylor Motors, Taylor Collision Center, Jefferson State Diesel, 22 Salute.
And John Knight for being my co-host here. Nobody else would do it.
Well, I think it's about time to wrap it up. If we talk any longer, we're going to bore people to death, and it's already been enough time. So,
Yes.
What do you think we call it a day?
Thanks for having me on.
Always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
We'll be here next week, Friday morning, 7 o'clock. Be here.